Imagine paying $600 for a flight. You arrive at the airport 2 hours early. You check in online. You breeze through security. You even choose your seat. Everything is going exactly as planned. Then the gate agent looks up and calls your name. "I'm sorry, this flight is full." You smile. There has to be a mistake. You already have a boarding pass. You already have a seat number. So how can the flight be full? Then someone nearby says, "Maybe they sold your seat to someone else?" It sounds ridiculous. It also happens thousands of times every year. And here's the strange part. The airline didn't lose control. It did exactly what it planned to do. Most people think overbooking is just corporate greed. Sell a few extra tickets, make a little more money, deal with the complaints later. It sounds believable. It's also wrong, because airlines aren't trying to sell more tickets. They're trying to avoid something far more expensive: an empty seat. Imagine a plane with 180 seats. Now imagine only 170 passengers show up. The plane still departs. The pilots still get paid. The cabin crew still gets paid. Fuel is still burned. Airport fees are still charged. Almost every expense stays exactly the same. The only thing that changes is 10 seats earned nothing. And unlike almost every other product, those seats can never be sold again. A television can sit in a warehouse for months. A hotel room can be rented tomorrow night. A shirt can wait for the next customer. An airline seat has one chance. The moment the aircraft leaves the runway, its value drops to zero. That's why airlines hate empty seats more than almost anything else. So years ago, they started asking a simple question: why do seats leave empty when people already bought tickets? The answer wasn't mechanical, it wasn't operational, it was human. Not everyone who buys a ticket actually flies. Some passengers oversleep, some cancel at the last minute, some get stuck in traffic, some miss a connection, others simply change their minds. At first, it looked random, but airlines weren't looking at one flight. They were looking at millions. And something remarkable began to appear: patterns. Every route behaved differently. Every airport behaved differently. Monday morning business flights followed one pattern. Holiday flights followed another. Summer looked different from winter. The more flights they studied, the more predictable people became. Eventually, airlines could estimate with surprising accuracy how many passengers probably wouldn't show up. Imagine one flight that leaves every Tuesday morning. For years, history tells the same story. About 5 passengers never make it, almost every week. Now imagine you're the airline. Do you sell exactly 180 tickets and almost guarantee that 5 seats fly empty? Or do you trust the data and sell 185 instead? That single decision changed the airline industry forever, because from that moment on, airlines stopped trying to predict airplanes. They started predicting people, and for years, it worked. The extra tickets were sold. A few passengers didn't show up. The plane left completely full. Nobody noticed anything unusual. Everyone reached their destination. The airline avoided flying expensive empty seats around the world. It looked like the perfect system. Until one day, the prediction was wrong. Every passenger checked in. Every passenger arrived at the gate. Every passenger wanted the seat they had already paid for. Now there were 185 passengers and only 180 seats. This is the part everyone remembers: the overbooked flight, the angry passengers, the viral videos, the headlines, because success is invisible. Failure isn't. From the outside, It looks like the airline made a terrible mistake. But from the airline's perspective, this wasn't a failed strategy. It was the small price of a strategy that worked millions of times before. So instead of forcing someone off the plane, the airline starts negotiating. Would anyone be willing to take a later flight? Then the offers begin. Travel vouchers, cash, free hotel rooms, meal coupons. Sometimes the amount keeps going up. $200, $500, $1,000. Whatever it takes to convince someone to give up a seat voluntarily. At first, that sounds incredibly expensive, but compare it to the alternative. Imagine 5 empty seats on thousands of flights every single day, year after year. Now compare that to compensating a handful of passengers once in a while. One costs billions over time. The other is simply the cost of protecting the system. That's the calculation airlines are making, not for one flight, not for one passenger, but across millions of flights over decades. And once you understand that, you start seeing the same pattern everywhere. Insurance companies don't know who will file the next claim. Casinos don't know who will hit the jackpot tonight. Banks don't know who will carry a credit card balance. None of them predict individuals. They predict patterns. One person is unpredictable. 10 million people aren't. That's the difference between how customers think and how businesses think. Customers remember stories. Businesses remember statistics. So the next time you hear someone say, "The airline sold my seat twice," they're only half right. The airline wasn't betting against you. It was betting on decades of human behavior. And most of the time, human behavior is surprisingly predictable. That's why overbooking still exists. Not because airlines enjoy making passengers angry, but because probability beats perfection. They weren't really selling more seats. They were selling something else, a prediction. And for decades, that prediction has been one of the most valuable products in the airline business. Business Decoded principle: probability beats perfection.